On tonight's prime time,
Put up on the chair.
a shocking undercover report from the RT Investigations Unit into care at the Áras Attracta Care Centre.
The fact that this can still occur in a purpose-built environment to look after a small number of people with intellectual disabilities is absolutely frightening.
We asked the HSE's Director for Social Care and Minister Kathleen Lynch how vulnerable people in the care of the state could have been treated like this and how they can ensure it doesn't happen again.
Hello there and welcome to the programme. Well, tonight we bring you a shocking report from the RT Investigations Unit into care at the HSE-run Áras Attracta Care Centre in Swinford in County Mayo. Using secret filming, the investigation uncovered what experts have described as appalling standards of care for some residents. Later we'll be hearing from the HSE and the Minister responsible. First though, here's Barry O'Kelly with his report, which I should warn you contains distressing scenes from the beginning.
There are over 3,700 people with an intellectual disability living in large residential centres in Ireland today. It can be a difficult, stressful environment to work in.
If you're in the position to care for people with disability, you have a lot of control. And I think that it's very, very important that you don't abuse that position in any way at all.
Tonight we go inside a unit within one facility where we witnessed practices that failed to meet any standards of care.
Put up on the chair. Anyway.
This is atrocious behaviour. It is institutionalised in its worst form.
Sit down now. Get on there. You better be quiet.
It's a relationship of threats and physical force, basically.
And we found some staff members watching on and doing nothing.
And that chair up there. Now roll away there on the ground.
And we ask, who's ultimately responsible here?
The days are long gone when a senior manager can say, I didn't realise it was happening.
The buck does not stop with the people on the ground. It goes right up to the top.
We hear too from the families who learn about these practices for the first time.
I'm just shocked beyond words. I couldn't express it.
It's very hurtful to watch somebody do that to your own flesh and blood.
In recent times, more and more people with an intellectual disability are living in the community. But for the remaining 3,700 people who live in large residential centres, services are far from ideal. The HSE's landmark report into these centres, the Congregated Settings Report, paints a damning picture of life for the residents. It says many experience institutional living conditions where they lack basic privacy and dignity. The report recommends these centres should be closed by 2018. But at the current rate of progress, it will be more like 2035 before this is achieved.
Abysmal. I mean, the only way to describe it is that it's abysmal, that there is no real commitment to implement the Congregated Settings Report.
People with disabilities in these institutional settings have been hidden for decades. This is one of these historic legacies, which is a scandal that Ireland yet again is choosing to just keep down.
Last year, the health watchdog HICWA began inspecting all residential disability services to ensure they comply with new standards of care. We analysed the 420 inspection reports and we found that less than 2% of services were fully compliant with the new standards.
It's a real concern because there was a very, very, very long lead into HICWA. That level of non-compliance with HICWA suggests again that it's something that's having to be dragged out of people, as opposed to something that people are eager and anxious to comply with.
One of the services inspected by HICWA and not fully compliant is Áras Attracta in Swinford, County Mayo. The service is home to just under 100 residents who live in a variety of units and bungalows in the one site. Earlier this year, HICWA went into Áras Attracta and it found some residents were underweight and went up to 15 hours throughout the night without food.
The treatment of people in Áras Attracta at that time, around, their daily activities in terms of eating and in terms of being with each other, I mean, it was just quite shocking, and very disturbing.
In a follow-up inspection, HICWA noted a significant improvement. And the HSE, which runs the service, assured families that management and staff will continue to work to provide the highest standards of care in the unit. However, information we received from whistleblowers painted a very different picture of Áras Attracta. In order to confirm the information, we went in undercover. Our researcher was taken on as a work experience student. Initially, she observed in Unit 2 and Bungalow 4 and witnessed some good quality care.
Up you get. Come on, up you get. That's it, you're tired.
Our researcher then moved to Bungalow 3, which accommodates 7 female residents. There were moments here when staff members provided quality care.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Sure, you could, if I was up, like, if I was...
That's what I mean, I like the 5-to-1.
What do you want?
Ma.
Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Now, good girl.
However, within a short period of our time in B3, we learned about another side of care in this unit. Positive behaviour support is recognised worldwide as best practice for managing people with challenging behaviour. It requires giving people positive interaction and specially selected daily activities. It does not involve punishment or acts of aggression, such as shouting, threats, slapping or kicking. Such practices contravene numerous standards and regulations which govern residential facilities for vulnerable adults. But this is exactly what you're about to see. Many staff work in Bungalow 3 and a number of them did not engage in bad practice or breach the regulations. This is Ivy McGinty.
Are you laughing, Ivy? Are you?
She's 53, autistic and has a severe intellectual disability.
Like she never did.
Ivy cannot speak, though she understands what is being said.
I'm going to rub your hand. Will I rub them?
Ivy sometimes presents with behaviour that challenges, and when she's frustrated, she can hit out at staff. One staff member is on extended sick leave after allegedly being assaulted by Ivy.
Just sit down.
When we filmed in this unit, Ivy had recently damaged her own eye, and staff were instructed to observe her closely to prevent her causing further, potentially irreversible damage. Ivy's world is largely centred around these 2 chairs, this one in the dining area and this one in the living room.
No messing today.
Over the 3 weeks we filmed in Bungalow 3, Ivy was largely confined to these 2 chairs.
Sit down now.
This flies in the face of good practice.
Sit down there. Don't even try that. Sit down there.
Staff used different methods to get Ivy to comply. Sometimes they rattled keys in front of her. Ivy is frightened of keys. They have a negative association for her.
You're going to hurt yourself.
And at times, these staff members used threats.
Any more messing, this chair is gone. You have to go over to the armchair.
The interaction is very much characterised in the clips that we've seen by raised voices, by staff standing up, by staff leaning over, by issuing what would appear to be threats about what's going to happen or what's not going to happen if they don't behave. That can be very distressing for the individual who lives there. It will also, in many, many occasions, result to an escalation in the behaviour.
there's much better ways to deal with challenging behaviour than to try and cabin the individual's behaviour down to the point where they can basically do nothing.
Under the regulations, the management of Áras Attracta must ensure staff have up-to-date knowledge and skills to respond to behaviour that challenges. This requirement was breached regularly during the time we filmed. On one of our first days in B3, we find Ivy at her table in the dining room. She tried to get out of her chair a number of times before being sent back.
Sit down.
This staff member tells Ivy to put her head down on the table and to put her hands down as well.
Put your hand on the table. On the table. No. Yes. Relax. Stop that. Sit down now.
But Ivy also has an attachment to this chair, and moments later it's removed in an attempt to punish Ivy.
Get your chair back, baby, like this. No way.
And this nurse is refusing to give her back the chair. Ivy lies on the floor.
Shocking bad quality virus.
Staff want Ivy to go to the chair in the living room, but the chair in this location here is the one she wants.
That's it. Go on your chair.
Ivy lies on the floor again and begins to engage in self-injurious behaviour. She starts rubbing her head on the ground.
You had only the sparks, is it? Stop doing that. Get up and sit down on the armchair now, quick. Stop that, Ivy!
Ivy's self-injurious behaviour worsens. But she still doesn't get her chair back. After 8 minutes on the floor, staff finally defuse the situation. And soon after, Ivy is given her chair back. This treatment is a clear breach of the Health Act regulations. These require Áras Attracta to ensure each resident exercises choice and control in their daily life.
You could see her rubbing her face against the floor and the banging of her hands, which clearly would have been causing her some pain. All of that was indicating increasing distress and increasing upset on behalf of the individual. And now that is a direct result that the chair is not available, then what it has the effect of doing is escalating the behaviour and increasing the risk to that individual.
What's up?
This is Mary Garvin. She's 65 and from County Mayo.
Nothing.
Well, Mary is my older sister. Mary is mute, so she can't communicate. But she's a very, very gentle person. Always was. Very kind, gentle person. She's very, very aware of your presence and you'd be nice to her. She knows what's going on all around her, even if she can't communicate.
Mary went to live in Áras Attracta 20 years ago. When we filmed, we found Mary mostly confined to the bungalow, where she sits a lot in this chair in front of the TV, which is left on all day. Mary cannot speak, and she communicates by waving her hands and making sounds like this. There's no response from the staff, so Mary continues. Eventually, a staff member responds to her calls.
Down there now, come on. In now, go get. Go get. Now.
And says this in her ear. This is a threat of punishment, as the porch is isolated and smoky. Staff are now chatting in the room, and Mary looks for attention. Again, she is threatened. Mary has brittle bones and arthritis, and staff should be careful when moving her. Yet when Mary reaches out once more, staff handle her roughly.
Come on, move on. You go. One more. Next time I will.
By law, each resident must have a care plan outlining their care needs. Mary's plan states she enjoys having her hand held or her hair stroked, which helps soothe her when she's anxious. But this did not happen on this occasion.
Stop shouting.
Shortly afterwards, staff arrive in with Mary's wheelchair. But moments later, they take it away.
No, that's not what to do ever. You get into this chair, or I'll put you on the bus. Get into that chair. Get in that chair. Okay then, back on the chair. There's no wheelchair. We told you there was no wheelchair. No more shouting when you go on the porch. It's a long old evening. Oh, jeez. Are you going to do that again? Put your head down.
This care assistant continues using her mobile phone. She then proceeds to remove Mary to an adjoining room.
Take her out.
A few days later,
Get over the chair.
the Franklin morning.
Now mind your feet down. Get up. Get up. Out. Get up. Out. Sit around this chair. Out. Get up. Out. Get up. Down. Get up. Get up. You're right here, not now. You're going into them. Get in. Now, get in. She's trying to resist it.
After some horseplay, he went
Now.
to himself.
Off you go. She actually said, I want the new
And staff return and chat, while Mary can be heard from the next room.
She's clearly using her calling out to get attention. She's clearly using it to try and communicate something. There's no attempt by staff to establish what that is. That's all very, very intimidating behaviour. This is the individual's house. This is where they live.
You know, staff, did have time to check their phones and time to have a chat. However, it is this lady's home. She was making a request in her own way. It should be her voice is the most important one in that room.
You've got what appears to be sufficient, indeed, considerable numbers of staff on duty in some of these clips. The fact that this can still occur in a purpose-built environment to look after a small number of people with intellectual disabilities is absolutely frightening.
During the time we filmed in Bungalow 3, the daily roster had 4 or 5 staff members looking after 7 residents. We showed the footage to Mary's sisters, Kathleen and Sheila.
I'm just shocked beyond words. I couldn't express it. I've never seen anything like it, ever in all my life. They seem to think that she's an object, that she doesn't feel anything, that she doesn't understand anything, but she does. She does. Every human being does. Mary's no different. And I know it's difficult work, but there's a line you do not cross where you infringe on somebody's human dignity. And you're depending on people not to cross that line.
You wouldn't do that to me.
We observed Mary Maloney, who's 75 and has spent all her life in care. The HSE acts in loco parentis for Mary. Mary is unable to speak and is diagnosed with a severe intellectual disability.
Weren't ya?
During our filming, there were a few moments of warmth shown towards Mary.
What do you do it? What do you do it?
Nice guy.
Sit down now, Mary. Good girl.
Today, Mary is in this room for nearly 11 hours. Residents are not supposed to be sitting around all day. Individualised care plans should be in place, and these should include a variety of activities and time outside the bungalow. Instead of sitting around chatting, drinking tea and using mobile phones, staff should ensure care plans are activated for residents. Mary's care plan states she should have one-to-one interaction and a structured day of activities. We saw an entirely different routine. At one stage, she didn't leave this spot for nearly 6 hours.
And it will be a brighter, more showery day as well. The showers may merge.
No, I'm not sure.
Now that's real value.
Put them on.
You heard it from Trina yourself. You will have a great time.
Okay, don't be so cross.
The following day, the same pattern of care was repeated, and Mary received very little positive interaction from staff. Throughout our filming, we witnessed repeated attempts by staff to get residents to remain in their chairs. Here, Mary is pulled into the armchair by her hood by a nurse. When we filmed, 75-year-old Mary was unwell and required regular intakes of food and drink. And on one occasion, this is how it was delivered.
So,
Faith.
The care assistant is now pinning Mary's arm down with her knee while forcing her to take a drink. She now pins Mary's right arm fully back behind the arm of the chair.
Changed everything.
You've changed everything.
oh yeah, right. Great.
You might have been drunk, Kevin, but you were talking sense. I'm way too young to settle down to know what I really want.
Well, glad I can help.
So, I've decided I can't go through with it. I'm cancelling the wedding and it's all down to you.
Well, hold on. You're cancelling your wedding because of me?
Yeah.
An initial specimen.
Here, she places her hand over Mary's eyes.
We've got the right to request one if we think you've been driving under the influence. All you've got is her say-so. But the next test you provide is the important one, and it'll depend on that whether you get disqualified or not. I'm not doing it. Well, then you've just committed another offence, Keith. Such a job.
The idea that you would restrain someone and physically try to overpower someone in order to get them to drink you really can't defend that on any occasion. The most striking part of that is the physical presence of the member of staff, the leaning forward, the use of restraint. At one stage, a member of staff puts her hands over the individual's face. And being that to me is abusive practice. There's no question about that.
It's bad practice, as well as raising very profound concerns over the human rights of the people who live in this institution.
Here, just a week later, we discover Mary is actually able to feed herself with just a little assistance from our work experience student.
Take it easy, slowly. Slowly, slow. She drink her. Yep.
That night, after the force-feeding incident, Mary attempts to take her hoodie off.
Nice and easy has 56 shades.
Will you stop, you ninny hammer?
Highlights.
Would you stop taking off your socks and all?
By the end of this day, Mary had once again spent almost 11 hours in the one room.
If you take that off, you're going to bed. Now, don't. I was spoken so. What? Are you going to him, are you? What's wrong with
Earlier on, 65-year-old Mary Garvin, seen here on the left, seemed to be looking for attention. Her personal care plan states she likes to go out for walks in the sunshine. But our researcher witnessed Mary leaving the bungalow just once during 3 weeks of filming.
What is your problem? Now stop it. Put that down if you can't put it down. Just stop the tomfoolery. There's no need for it. Look at outside, it's pissing rain, it's damn dark, have roof over your head.
In each of these clips, what that individual is getting is very negative interaction with people. It's threats, it's disrespectful language. It's, in the other clips, it was around sort of being treated very roughly. You may have a roof, but it doesn't seem to be an awful lot positive going on under that roof.
It's nearly 4:30 in the afternoon, and staff are having a meeting.
Ivy, you only have to just 2 minutes ago. As I do with you every day, sit down past me, please. You have, listen, 2 choices. 1, sit on your chair. 2, bring up your pyjamas and go to bed.
On your line. You write it down exactly what you do.
Later on that evening, and one of the other residents is in Ivy's chair in the back corner of the room, and this nurse appears to revel in the situation.
Well, yeah, but this is chin, isn't it?
Too well, no. You sure you should be here?
Well, I haven't got much choice with you and Ali being off. I'm really sorry.
The nurse now encourages the other resident to say to Ivy,
Fuck off back to aren't you?
Sometime later, Ivy McGinty is sitting quietly in her chair.
McGinty, if you're asleep, wake up. Wait! McGinty! McGinty! Wake up and get up from the table. You can't be asleep when people come in. Wait, shake up your hair and look smart. Wrap your hair. Shake it up. Look fucking chin again. Shake your hair up. Branch yourself up. Rub your hair. Rub your hair, McGinty. No, up here, Lily. Hey!
Under the Health Act regulations, Áras Attracta is required to protect residents from abuse. In this next incident, they clearly failed to do so. Ivy is escorted to her chair in the back of the room. The care assistant now searches for her keys, which Ivy is fearful of. She waves the keys in front of Ivy's face and then strikes Ivy with them across the leg.
Get it, get it. Get in the leg. In the leg. I'm still here. I am still here. Believe it or not, I'm not gone. No. Yeah, you can rub it your own way. Stop it now. No, stop it.
Thank you.
Oh, sit yourself down now.
A half an hour later, and the same care assistant is now about to kick Ivy in the back of the leg. The care assistant then sits down to watch TV.
It's very, very difficult to watch, and it's very, very poor quality care. It seems that the absolute focus is on control and compliance, and not only does a person have to sit in a chair, but they have to sit in a chair in the way that the member of staff wants them to do it, which is turned round, face to the wall, head down.
That's clearly abuse. You know, if you're physically abusing somebody else, and any standards of care would say that that's totally unacceptable.
What a horrible environment. It's as if the person has been treated as invisible, as a non-person, and when she tries to become visible, is pushed back. It's, very, very troubling footage.
That evening, the care assistant continues to confine Ivy, and this time she pinches Ivy.
Get over there. You better be quiet.
I don't think he's going to know this. Just enjoy the moment.
Ivy's care plan says she must be encouraged and reassured at all times. This is in stark contrast to the care we witnessed. Here we see Ivy prodded and poked for no apparent reason.
Are you serious? No, no. Put your head down, I said. Put your head down. Oh, you. Get off that chair. Get off that chair.
The next day, this nurse at the back of the room is caring for Ivy. She blocks Ivy's path, and Ivy drops herself to the ground.
Down there. When you're not that's where you can go. The next time, when you do actually get to sit, you sit on it properly.
Right, I will.
So you're chancing your arm. You have that chair over there, or you have that chair over there.
Be
very, very steady.
Ivy remains on the floor for 2 minutes before the nurse challenges her again.
Girls, will I ask her to sit on her chair again? Do you think that she deserves a chair? I don't know. Take a chair! Any chair. That one. Which is it? Right, well, you don't get off it.
Soon after, the nurse talks about a former staff member.
You would be afraid of her, so you would. But it was horrible. She reported everything, left, right, and centre.
Yeah, well, that was her own, you know.
Or it was to her own detriment because she's gone.
Yeah.
It's night time, and Mary has been in this one spot for nearly 10 hours.
I don't know what it's like that.
That's your own fault now.
Outside of being fed, she's had very little interaction from staff.
It's in there, stop trying to get out that way.
Don't even think about the
Hear me?
Doorbells can be checked on the lottery.
That's for you.
Website. They will also be
Why would you people
automatic
do that?
results, and use one of them later this evening. It's like that
screen. You won't fall down on that.
Saturday for weekend lottery.
This same rough treatment continues over the following days. This care assistant is trying to put Mary into a chair.
Sit down. Sit down. Forward. Now, lie.
I don't think any interaction that someone initiates should be received with cruelty of any description, whether it's hitting somebody with the keys or telling someone to be quiet, or that's not acceptable. This is her home. It's where she spends her time, and she should feel that she can reach out and communicate if she wants to.
Striking an individual with intellectual disabilities, indeed striking anyone, is assault. And in those circumstances, entirely unwarranted. There's no threat, there's no risk.
Earlier that day, the care assistant on the left of frame lights up a cigarette.
What's your comment, reaction, response to all that?
Get over. That's why I don't get.
But isn't it your job to nurture and raise this child? It's not your mother's job. She raised you.
Soon after, the manager of the unit, a male nurse, arrives into the bungalow. Ivy doesn't like men, and staff know it. Ivy struggles under his weight and tries to push him away.
She's the perfect person to play a downtrodden skivvy, isn't she? Oh, what shall I do for an encore? Like fire breathing? Or maybe I could spin plates on the end of my breathing.
The manager then calls over another member of staff.
Help! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Ivy, come here!
Manifest effect and criminal damage in accordance with Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence 1974.
It's all right. Now, go back to your chair.
You've been littering my campus.
Chillax.
You stole
To me, there's a major indication of the culture there that when something like that occurs, a member of staff asks the individual with intellectual disabilities to apologise, rather than saying to the member of staff, whoever they are, what do you think you're doing?
I'm just flabbergasted that he would walk in and just sort of like almost sit on her. She's resisting, she doesn't want him there. Clearly she doesn't want him there. But I think what struck me afterwards, actually, was that when somebody did interact with her, she responded. You know, she came up and she was with the member of staff and she sort of hugged her and things like that. And if you've got that, you know, if you have somebody that is able to interact in that way, why are you totally, suppressing it all the rest of the time?
Throughout the rest of the day, Ivy is slapped on numerous occasions by various staff members for attempting to get out of her chair.
Down! Put up your legs! What are you doing?
We showed the footage to Ivy's family.
All the family are very hurt over this. Ivy cannot tell us exactly how she feels. Very hurtful to watch somebody do that to your own flesh and blood. You know, they're innocent people doing no harm to no one, going into a place where they thought to be well looked after.
The next day, it's 11:30 a.m. and Mary, seen here on the left in pink, has been sitting in her chair for over an hour. A stated goal in Mary's care plan is that her life is to be made as comfortable and happy as possible. On this occasion, this simply didn't happen.
I said to Mary Gavin, don't you dare! Get back up on that chair! She said, would you get back up on that chair? Quick!
And a large one of the family and...
Get up on that chair!
Anyway.
Oh yeah, no, put up on that chair!
Don't forget that.
Don't you dare come up that chair, you go in the hallway.
Yeah, but I said, we're going down anyway. I said, no bother. She's on night, just take it down and have something.
Later that afternoon, Mary is sitting quietly for about 10 minutes. The same care assistant comes into the room.
Come on, out on the porch. Come on, out on the porch. Come on. Well, stop it. I don't want to hear another word. Not another word. Do you hear me?
The fact that you would strike someone at all, but to strike someone in the face by something you have in your hand it's abusive.
I've seen footage like this before, but to be frank, it's from Eastern Europe, it's not from Ireland, and I feel ashamed about this.
There is one consolation for Mary's family.
She didn't retaliate, and that just shows how kind she is and genteel, even though she was subjected to all that inhumane and degrading treatment. She never retaliated. And for that, I am so proud of her. I really am so proud of her.
Later on, Ivy receives a similar response to Mary when she tries to move around. This nurse handles Ivy by the face.
You're wet, I know you are, but you can stay in it. Sit down.
And this care assistant strikes Ivy twice in the face.
Did she come near you when you were having your dinner? Did she? Did she? Well, I have to say, Mark, don't bring any sorrow in here. I told you that. I know that. I told you that. She said to me that the scene that put her off and said it was very volatile.
I am absolutely stuck for words. Who's the governance? Who's responsible for this? Whoever's running this facility, how are they assuring quality? What mechanisms have they got in place? And it's entirely unacceptable that individual members of staff behave in this way, but it's equally unacceptable that an organisation could have a facility within its service that behaves like this and them not know about it.
This is one of the few moments we witnessed a staff member speak out about practices in the unit. The care assistant on the left of frame issues a mild threat to Ivy, and the care assistant at the back of the room intervenes.
Ivy, sit down. Do you want to go down to bed?
You would then slip off and head down to Seoul to the gay. Yeah, I would. And one thing I need to.
This old lady, right?
Later that night, 75-year-old Mary Maloney reaches out to staff before she's pushed to the ground.
But I have to take. Will you sit down?
But you know what I mean? I'm trying to go into the position where you are, Chris.
Child Maloney, Child Maloney, Child Maloney, Child Maloney, Child Maloney, Child Maloney. Sit! Sit! Sit!
The care assistant then calls over the nurse, who proceeds to drop Mary onto a couch.
Now listen here, Maloney. You're going to have to smarten up. You have to listen to the old lady. Oh no, you're awful enough.
After the show, come in a bed.
Where do you want to go? Where will we go? Do you want to go on the chair? What the stress, isn't it? Lovely at the back. Well, what sort of shoes did you do? Can we have you any handbags?
Wow. Slapping a person, letting them fall to the ground. This is mind-boggling in this day and age that would be happening.
In my eyes, not possible to call it care. That level of interaction between a member of staff and somebody who they're meant to be looking after is very, very surprising to see and very, very difficult to watch. It's abusive care, and it's a term that can't be used lightly.
The same evening, the care assistant who spoke out earlier about bad practice now provides an example of good care when she dances with Mary Maloney. This evening, Ivy is presenting with behaviour that challenges.
If there's any contact then, oh, I'm getting wet. If there's any contact then, you try to
watch her, watch her.
Get out. Something right, you know what I mean?
don't you just try it? Ivy. Watch it, watch it. No, she's not going to that chair. Get away. Get away that chair. Turn that chair upside down. Turn that chair upside down. Turn that chair upside down.
Now roll away there on the ground.
Turn that chair upside down. You lie there and you can down, right?
While she has reached for members of staff and reached out towards members of staff, it's not a real threat. In many ways, it's pretty easy to deflect and to diffuse. So I'm horrified that somebody would be dragged by their shoulders or by their clothes and across the floor and handled in that way.
It's woven of the same cloth, which is this deeply embedded idea that people with intellectual disabilities really are objects to be managed rather than human beings to be cherished. I find it bizarre.
Minutes later, and this care assistant is refusing to give Ivy her chair back.
You're not getting that chair.
But Ivy wants it, and moments later, she's on the ground. Under the Health Act regulations, Áras Attracta is required to protect the dignity of every resident. In this next incident, they failed to do so. Here Ivy communicates by pulling at her clothes to indicate she wants to go to the toilet.
Well, if you died, I won't bring you to the toilet. No, I happen to know you. I said no. Don't go over to anybody else because they won't bring you either.
The care assistant also tells other staff not to bring Ivy to the toilet.
You won't go in because you were cold. No, I'm not taking you away. Nobody is taking you. No.
Go away, Ivy!
Don't take her now. No, go away. Go away, you're bored. Go away.
Ivy now brings gloves. This appears to be a further attempt to communicate her need to go to the bathroom, but this care assistant refuses.
Go away. Nobody wants you. Go away. Go away. Go away, I said. Go away. Nobody wants you.
The care assistant now calls Ivy over, only to push her away again with her foot.
She's 17,000 and her job.
The stress for me when you've got a lady with intellectual disabilities who's clearly trying to communicate, persistently trying to communicate. She's starting to undress, she's pulling her trousers, she's persistently trying to communicate that she wants to go somewhere, she wants to do something, and she's been told she can't. This is atrocious behaviour. It is institutionalised in its worst form.
There seems to be some kind of almost like pleasure in trying to exert power over her, which I just, I find it very difficult to understand why people would think it's okay to do that. People flicking at her with files, kicking her, when all she's trying to do, it seems, is to communicate that she needs to go to the toilet. There are other staff there, clearly not intervening, and by not intervening, sort of condoning that behaviour.
Go away! Get over there and sit down. We want to bring you.
Well, that's humiliating at the very least. And to be denied basics like that for no obvious reason other than control is completely unacceptable.
Eventually, Ivy is given her chair back, and later she's brought to the toilet.
You want to go to the toilet? Are you going to be a good girl for me? All right, why not try the toilet?
Ivy kept going around and around, but what hurt me more was where Ivy went over, she picked up a pair of rubber gloves, which I presume nurses do put on when Ivy uses the toilet. She got the gloves and threw them to one side, still would not bring Ivy to the toilet. Now that's very, very hurtful for, a girl that can't speak.
After witnessing these practices in Bungalow 3, we took our undercover researcher out of Áras Attracta and we reported to the HSE, HICWA and An Garda Síochána, who are now carrying out a formal investigation. Over the course of this film, we've seen people in state-funded care suffer indignity upon indignity because the system failed them on every level. Care plans were drawn up but ignored, and the supervision required was nowhere to be seen during our filming. But the appalling standards of care in Bungalow 3 clearly go beyond staff on the ground.
The days are long gone when a senior manager can say, I didn't realise it was happening. It's their job to have systems in place to make sure they know what's happening in the units that they're responsible for.
There is a lack of governance, a lack of supervision. There's an acceptable culture of control over people's lives. I don't know in any way can management distance themselves from that.
The HICWA inspections of Áras Attracta did not detect these practices. So, as things stand, similar abuses elsewhere will also be likely to go undetected by any state agency. So where does ultimate responsibility lie? In the wake of the HICWA inspections of Áras Attracta, families were assured by the HSE that it would work to provide the highest standards of care. But this was not what we found.
Absolute responsibility in any setting goes right up to top-level management. And in this case, we're talking about the HSE. And I don't think that the HSE at higher levels can abdicate responsibility and just put full blame on those staff. The buck does not stop with the people on the ground. It goes right up to the top.
And for the families, there's a long road ahead.
I always thought Ivy being in Áras Attracta was a wonderful place and we were happy for her. I don't know who to trust now, reading through it.
I will not rest until this is properly investigated. This can never, ever happen again. Not just alone for Mary, for all the other people there. The least we might expect is that people in care are treated with dignity and respect.
That investigation was by Barry O'Kelly and it was produced by Janet Traynor. Well, the Director of Social Care with the HSE and Minister for Social Care, Kathleen Lynch, will be answering questions about what we've just seen after this short break. So join us in a few minutes.
Welcome back to Prime Time. We're discussing that shocking report from the RT Investigations Unit on the treatment of residents with intellectual disabilities in Áras Attracta in County Mayo. Pat Healy is the HSE's Director for Social Care at the HSE. He joins me now. Pat Healy, having watched that programme, are you ashamed?
Well, I have to say it's the first time I've seen the full programme and certainly I'm disturbed.
Disturbed? Because I have to tell you, Pat Healy, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to live in a country where that could be done to those people.
Absolutely, and clearly some of the behaviours, practice and attitudes of staff there are totally unacceptable. They have no place in the health service.
And you're responsible for that?
And the action that we're taking is to actually...
Sorry, do you accept that you're responsible for that?
Yes, of course. The health service is a facility run by us and the action that we've taken is to put 9 staff off duty.
Yeah.
We've advised the guards
we'll get on to that in a minute. You're the head of the social care management team, which according to the HSE website has established a new way of working to improve governance standards, services and accountability for all disability services. That's the claim. Clearly you've failed.
Well, we've certainly failed in Unit 3, that's for sure. And can I say it's important in the first instance to acknowledge that. I think I spoke with Sheila Ryan, Mary Garvin's sister last night. I apologised to her and I want to apologise here publicly for, on behalf of myself and all of the HSE for the shortcomings here.
But I think there are a bit more than shortcomings in fairness. What we saw was assault. We saw people being slapped, we saw people being kicked, we saw people suffering from what could only be described as mental torture.
And clearly that type of behaviour has no place in the health service. And
well, as you've accepted that you have failed and the HSE has failed, are you considering your position?
Well, I think what I am doing is taking action, as I've said, and the first concern was to address the needs of those residents in that centre. So we've put 9 people off duty, we've brought in a proactive approach by putting in practice coordinators, we've brought back expertise from Scotland, which we had previously brought in there. And I think...
But I'm sorry to cut across you, but I do want you to answer this point. You're the man ultimately responsible for that unit, for Bungalow 3. You're the man ultimately responsible for what went on there, should you not be considering your position?
Exactly. I'm in post 12 months. The purpose of putting a person like myself and the social care division in place...
This happened in the last couple of months.
It did indeed, and the purpose of putting my role in place is actually to provide leadership, to provide the consistency and direction for the service into the future, and that's what we have started. Clearly, there's a significant challenge to be addressed, and what I am about is addressing that. And
after the second HICWA report, and it's important for viewers to understand this, after the death of a resident in Áras Attracta, there was a HICWA report. It identified shortcomings, it made recommendations. Those recommendations were implemented. There was a second HICWA report in the summer, after which the HSE said the service being provided currently is safe. Do you think Mary Maloney, Mary Garvin and Ivy McGinty were safe in that environment?
They certainly were not, and the type of behaviour that we saw there is unacceptable, as I've said. And
the HSE acts in loco parentis for Mary Maloney, the 75-year-old woman in that film. If the HSE found a parent or a relative treating somebody like that, they would remove them, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, one of the issues for us is that earlier in the year we did remove the management there. We put in new management. Change is being made. The HICWA report...
This happened after those changes.
It did, but the HICWA report did identify that progress was being made. Clearly, the progress is not being made in Unit 2. We have taken action to address that now. And I think what's important is to make sure that moving on from here, the wider Áras Attracta is fully looked at. I've established an independent review specifically to look at the standard and to learn from what has gone wrong here, because clearly something has gone wrong, that all of the changes, 400 hours of training was implemented and it didn't deliver.
How much of that 400 hours of training went on those care workers, for want of a better word, that we saw in that film?
Nearly 100 hours, 35 hours for 5
of
the
staff. Well, it clearly didn't work, did it?
And that is one of the things we have to learn from David, and clearly what I have done by setting up the independent review by Kevin McCoy is to learn from that, because it's one of the questions I've been asking myself, giving all of the change that we did implement, what has happened here that it has not been implemented successfully. There's a cultural issue here that we have to get to the bottom of, and I would look to the recommendations from the McCoy review and to assure people that those will be implemented.
OK, I know that due process has to be followed. I know, as you say, there's an independent investigation. There's a Garda investigation. But why are some of the people we saw there suspended with pay?
Well, I think we have to follow due process.
But surely there must be some levels, forms of behaviour that are just simply unacceptable and that you'd be shown the door for.
Well, I think the public wouldn't thank us if, by not following due process, if in the longer term that people who were found to have not conducted themselves appropriately could not be dealt with through the disciplinary process because we didn't carry out an investigation properly. It's for that reason I have set up an independent investigation separate from the HSE, chaired and run by experts in the field who will carry out a proper investigation, and the recommendations of that will form part of any disciplinary process that has to happen after that.
With the staff we saw in action there, were they properly qualified, were they properly trained?
Indeed, the nursing staff are qualified themselves. Care staff, 2 of the staff of the 4 there had FETAC level 5 training. 2 of the others were listed for training. And clearly, one of the challenges for us is that given all of the changes that were implemented and given all of the training that was done, the question is there, why did it not work in Unit 3? And that is the reason that I've put this independent review together to look for that. But we're not just going to remain and look at this. There's learning here for the rest of the system.
Well, there is. I'm glad you mentioned the rest of the system. Where were the rest of management? Because these people quite clearly had no fear of anybody in a senior position walking in and finding them at what they were doing.
Well, as I said previously, following the first HICWA report, we have changed management at the centre.
Which clearly hasn't worked.
But it worked. It has worked. Even your own reporters have indicated that In some of the units, there was good behaviour. That the independent review that we received from HICWA indicated that the systems we were putting in place were working. But clearly,
how could you possibly say that, Mr. Healy? I'm sorry, but how can you say that when we've just watched what we've watched?
Well, clearly in Unit 3, this was not working. I have apologised for that.
And where was the management? Why was management not keeping an eye on this?
That is one of the things that we have to learn, and it is why I have put together this independent review to assess that and to see what needs to be done to change the culture there.
How many more Bungalow 3s are there around the country?
Well, I would hope that there are no more Bungalow 3s.
How on earth would you know? You didn't have a clue that this was going on.
Well, one of the ways and one of the important things for us is that the independent HICWA inspections are there, but more importantly than that, we are putting in place a separate audit and evaluation function separate from the line management system, which will review all of the 900 centres that we have during 2015.
I'm sorry to cut across you, but unless you have what we had, which was an undercover operative and secret filming, you're not going to find out what is really happening.
And we have said, as the Director General in his communication has said, that is one of the elements of a toolkit that we will now have to look at, because clearly what does jump out is that given the undercover type of operation that was done, it did identify practice here. So in the National Task Force that I have established, that is one of the issues that we will address. How do we tackle pockets of cultural inappropriate and shameful behaviour, as you say, that we can actually address that and bring a more sustained
you've no idea where else this could be going on. After watching that film, are you going to sleep easy in your bed tonight? Because I don't think I am.
Well, I don't, and I must say I found it quite upsetting, as you said. It was for that reason that we have taken the action that we have. It's for that reason that a national summit will be held next week to bring together all of the CEOs, all of the managers of the services. It is why we will develop an advocacy service where we will bring trained people from volunteers from outside and have them visit these centres. And it is also one of the reasons why we will establish an audit and evaluation function to try and learn from this type of situation.
OK, well, good luck with your learning. Pat Healy, thank you very much. Miriam.
Kathleen Lynch, you're the Minister with ultimate responsibility for this area. What are you going to do about this?
Well, start with the people that have been put off duty or suspended. We have an investigation going on, and despite what people's initial response might be, we do have to wait for the results of that to see what disciplinary action will be necessary. I think it's very disturbing, and if we're disturbed by it, I can only imagine how the families of the people involved must feel tonight. You know, we are in the process of taking a serious look at what happened in Bungalow 3. I think all of the people I've spoken to, and we have been talking about this, I suppose, for the last 2 weeks since your whistleblower, and I think we should be grateful to people like that, in fact did report this abuse. But I do think as well that the type of culture we're seeing.
But right now, at this moment, when you look at what was happening there, what are you doing right now to make sure that other people like Ivy and Mary aren't going through this? What are you actually doing?
Well, let me tell you that Paddy's organisation, Inclusion Ireland, spent 20 years talking about having independent inspections of residential centres where people with intellectual disability lived. I managed to do that last year, and the inspections are now just 1 year old. But
they clearly failed, to be honest, Minister. HICWA more or less gave that a clean bill of health this year in May.
In saying that, Miriam, I was just about to say that clearly that's not enough.
So what can we do instead of that?
Well, I think we're going to have to take a look what type of actions we're going to have to take. Maybe it will take putting in place the type of undercover person that you put in different units. There are over 900 around the country. I refuse to believe that Áras Attracta is the only one where people are not safe tonight. I think a lot of them are very good, but I couldn't but
let me come back in there for one moment.
On that.
It reminded many people of Lease Cross today, that other prime investigation where there was